Welcome to part 2 of the Sonic Genesis review. As some of you know that in part 1 I covered parts 1 and 2 of the Genesis arc, so now let's move on to part 3, Divide and Conquer. We see that Sonic is introducing Tails to Sally, Boomer, and Antoine, as Tails and Boomer have already become fast friends with their knowledge of technology. While this is going on, Sally tells Sonic that he was right about Robotnik. He's still alive and is still causing damage with his factories, and there's still no information on what's going on with all the earthquakes. Without any hesitation, the Freedom Fighters, along with Tails, head out to beat Robotnik once again. Meanwhile, Robotnik and Snively are preparing Phase 2 of their master plan, but are still having a hard time trying to remember what Phase 1 was. Robotnik shrugs it off now that he has the 7 Chaos Emeralds charging the Death Egg's ultimate weapon. I do find it weird that they call this the Death Egg, even though the model they're using is actually the Death Egg Mark II. Anyway, Snively tells Robotnik that there might be a flaw in their plan. Despite the Hedgehog going after him, he tells him the fact that there could be a total space-time collapse for what happened recently. But Robotnik doesn't worry as he says he'll win by the time that occurs, and assures Snively that his robots are ready to tackle on any uninvited guests. And then cut back to our heroes as they enter the chemical plant zone, as they gaze at its large pollution. Boomer and Tails are discussing what kind of device would need all this power, until they find out that they're lost. Sonic notices the pipes around the place, and believes that they must lead us somewhere. So he jumps in and races Tails to the top. Either that, or they could have just taken the elevator. The team enter into some kind of supply delivery route as they plan on climbing to the top, but then another earthquake occurs, locking them in as the place starts to fill up with Mega Muck. I have to say it is pretty interesting hearing the name Mega Muck, since it's been years since that was heard of in the comics. Sonic finds an opening as he and Tails grab the other three and escape before they drown in poisonous liquid. As they catch their breath, Sonic decides they should go after Robotnik and defeat him, but Sally suggests that they should shut down the power plants or else they'll be going after Robotnik over and over again. Sonic says no one's gonna get hurt while he's around, as he suddenly remembers a tragic event of Sally dying. But Sonic is still determined to defeat Robotnik, as he and Tails leave them behind while the trio head over to the Oil Ocean Zone to shut down the power plant. While they're having doubts about leaving Sonic behind, another earthquake occurs more violent than the others, as Sally and the other two hurry along to find the power plant before something worse happens. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails are flying in the tornado as they enter Metropolis Zone. Sonic crashes into the place, ready to fight Robotnik as we move on to Part 4, Reset. Sonic continues through Metropolis Zone, encountering many Bazniks as he mutters to himself that he left the others behind for their safety, but wishes that he had some backup right now. Meanwhile, Sally and the others continue their quest, running into more Badniks and booby traps. As they are attacked by a gang of Aquases, Sally loses her balance, but Boomer is able to catch her. Suddenly, Sally starts remembering events that happened in her past, as all the holes in her memories are now starting to fill up. While this is going on, Antoine falls into some cans and starts shooting all over the place, and surprisingly manages to destroy the Aquases, making Sally lose her focus. But not all hope is lost, as she speaks with one of the animals that was trapped inside about the power plant, and luckily, he knows where it is. Later, Sonic finally finds Robotnik as they begin their next battle. Sonic then realizes that he and Robotnik have been fighting each other longer than just a few days. Annoyed by Sonic's memories coming back, Robotnik sends out his replicas to defeat Sonic, but the tables are turned as Sally and the others shut down the power plant, stopping all of Robotnik's running factories. Enraged by his defeat, Robotnik heads off to the Death Egg to perform Phase 2, as Sonic leaps onto the tornado to chase after him. They suddenly realize that the earthquakes are getting worse and worse as Metropolis Zone is falling apart. Luckily, they notice Robotnik escaping into an escape hatch, and Sonic leaps onto it as they reach the Death Egg. As Sonic catches his breath from the trip, he notices the planet is ripping itself apart as Robotnik explains what's been going on. After he engulfed the entire planet into a blinding white light in issue 225, it sent everyone into an alternate dimension, reshaping the world the way he wants it to be. This event also erased everyone's memories for a brief period of time. The reason behind the earthquakes is that Mobius Prime is trying to force itself to go back to normal, but the alternate dimension is blocking its way, causing massive destructions as both universes are battling each other. Now that he has all 7 Chaos Emeralds, Robotnik explains Phase 2 of Operation Clean Sweep. He plans on firing the Death Egg cannon, which will not only roboticize every living being on the planet, but it will also trap everyone in this dimension forever. This triggers all of Sonic's memories rushing back to him of all the many encounters he had with Robotnik, such as the death of the original Robotnik and so on. Robotnik states that it's too late to change the world back to normal as he prepares to battle in his latest creation, Giant Mech, sometimes known as Mega Robotnik, recently been known as the Death Egg Robot, but it's just another one of those whatever the heck you want to call this guy characters. The two battle as Robotnik mocks Sonic of all the times he's been a thorn at his side, as he chucks a space shell right at Sonic, causing a giant explosion. As Robotnik prepares the final blow, Sonic snatches a cable that contains energy from the Chaos Emeralds as he becomes Supersonic once again. Enraged by his transformation, Robotnik fires every single weapon that he has up his sleeve to destroy Supersonic. While this is going on, Snively tells Robotnik that the dimensional rifts have gotten worse, that not even the Death 8 cannon can keep it stable. After hearing this, Supersonic notices that he doesn't have much time left to send the world back to normal. He then throws Robotnik against a wall, stunning him, and with the power of Chaos Control, Supersonic erases this dimension and sending Mobius back to the way it was, as well as doing some time traveling to the point before Sally was shot. And just for some spoilers, Sonic was able to travel a few seconds before Sally was shot, giving him enough time to save Sally being killed. But they will soon find out that more tragedy awaits around the corner. But that's another story. So you can tell that parts 3 and 4 pretty much add up to a adaptation of Sonic 2. With all of its trivias and blasts from the past sections, the Genesis arc is pretty wonderful, even though people can be real biased about it. Besides all the typical Sonic fan brats comments like the eye colors and blah blah blah, people just say that it's just a waste of space and a filler. Well, if the Genesis arc wasn't made, then the series would have ended at a massive cliffhanger in issue 225. And don't tell me we could just skip to issue 230, because that'll just leave a big gap in the timeline and it'll confuse people. It's like if someone finished playing Kingdom Hearts and decided to play Kingdom Hearts 2, completely skipping Chain of Memories and possibly 358 Days. And that'll just confuse the person saying, how did Sora go from running into an endless road into sleeping inside a pod? And besides, it's not like they ignore the Genesis arc. It's mentioned several times by Robotnik in issue 230. And during the Scourge Lockdown arc, Sonic has explained that nobody can enter the Mobius Prime Zone during the time because of a dimensional breach, obviously referencing the Genesis arc. And in the upcoming issue 231, we get to see how Naugus was affected by all this. Some say the Genesis arc was made because Archie was taking a break from the main series, others say it was because of that stupid Ken Penders lawsuit that was going on, but the real reason was that it was Sonic's 20th anniversary when the arc was made. It's even printed on all the covers to remind you. Don't judge a comic by its cover. Just shut up and do your damn research before you start spewing invalid arguments. In closing, the Sonic Genesis arc is a wonderful trip down memory lane with its great artwork, great story, and has a purpose in the timeline. Well, that wraps up this review. So this is Melting Man 234 signing out.